nature reserve located in the heart of Africa, there was a chimpanzee named John. John the chimpanzee was very intelligent and flexible, and had exceptional abilities in interacting with humans. John was living with a group of other chimpanzees, and he had a fun and likable personality. He loved to play and climb trees, and he interacted easily with his fellow chimpanzees. However, there was something that set John apart from the rest of his group, and that was that he showed a special interest in interacting with humans. And he preferred to stay close to the area from which the humans in the reserve could be seen. One day, a group of visiting scientists decided to go on a trip in the reserve to study the wildlife. And when they arrived, they started exploring the area and spotting the animals. During their journey, they saw John wandering among the trees, and as soon as John saw the scientists, he began to interact with them in an amazing way. And he was showing some of the skills he acquired from interacting with humans, such as greeting and shaking hands. The scientists were so amazed by John's behavior that they decided to follow him and study his interactions with them. To prove it, they decided to shoot a video of John and post it on the internet. Soon after, the video went viral, and John became the sanctuary's most famous chimpanzee. More scholars and tourists began to visit and interact with John, and John was enjoying these new interactions very much. Since then, John became acquainted with scientists and tourists more, and he spent a lot of time with them in interaction, exchanging toys and fun. John loved these moments, enjoying interacting with people and acquiring new skills. And one day, scientists decided to conduct an experiment on John to test his mental abilities and intelligence. And they put a group of boxes in a certain place and put the food inside one of the boxes, and hid the key that opens it in another place. When they told John about the experiment, he started interacting with the boxes and examining them, and soon after, John was able to discover the key, open the box, and get to the food. Scientists were amazed by his high ability to understand and interact. So, scientists started doing more detailed studies on John, and the results were pretty amazing. It turned out that John possessed exceptional abilities in interacting with humans and understanding things quickly, and he could easily solve puzzles and problems. Later, John was transferred to a scientific research center, where he began to live with other scientists and explorers. John was receiving special training to learn more skills and higher abilities. Through these exercises, John was able to acquire more skills in interacting with humans, learning sign language and expressing his wants and needs, and he was enjoying the new exercises and interactions very much. Over time, John became more popular and popular, becoming a symbol of intelligence and resilience in the animal world. He was loved by many, and he enjoyed a happy and comfortable life in the scientific research center. As the years passed, John's health began to deteriorate, and his movement became less and less. Despite the medical measures taken by the scientists, John eventually died. It was a great loss for scientists and explorers, but John will forever remain a chimpanzee loved and respected by many.
The chimpanzee is a type of great ape that lives in Africa, and is the closest species to humans in terms of evolution. Chimpanzees are distinguished by their intelligence and high mental abilities, some of which are similar to those of humans. Chimpanzees live in social groups, and they communicate with each other using gestures, vocalizations, and facial expressions. Chimpanzees have the ability to use tools, and they can use various objects as tools to obtain food or to solve problems. Scientific studies indicate that chimpanzees have the ability to recognize faces and names, and have strong memory and the ability to learn and adapt.
Interestingly, chimpanzees have the ability to interact and communicate with humans, and humans can interact with them in an effective way. Scientists use interaction with chimpanzees to understand their mental abilities and learn more about them. It is also important to note that chimpanzees are threatened with extinction due to forest destruction, poaching, and diseases. International organizations and governments are working to protect chimpanzees, preserve their natural habitat, and preserve the diversity of wildlife. Chimpanzees communicate with each other using many methods, including 1. Gestures. Chimpanzees use various gestures to communicate with each other, such as bodily movements, bows, and different movements. 2. Acoustics. Chimpanzees use various vocalizations to communicate, including screams, whistles, tweets, and hums. 3. Facial expressions. Chimpanzees have different facial expressions that express their mood and emotional and social status, such as smile, anger, and fear. 4. Touch. Chimpanzees use touch to communicate with each other, and they can use different movements to express feelings and attitudes. 5. Smells. Chimpanzees use scents to communicate with each other, and scents can express moods, attitudes, and identity. 6. Visual cues. Chimpanzees can use visual cues to communicate, such as rapid eye movements or hand gestures. Chimpanzees can use these different ways to communicate with each other, and scientists are using this information to understand chimpanzee behavior and culture, and to enhance their protection and care.
Chimpanzees can use gestures and vocalizations to communicate with humans. Chimpanzees have been trained to communicate with humans using American Sign Language ASL, which relies on gestures. It has been shown that chimpanzees can understand and use sign language to communicate, and they can even learn many different words and phrases. Studies have shown that chimpanzees are able to respond to instructions based on sign language, and they can use various gestures and movements to communicate with humans.
Studies show that chimpanzees have the ability to recognize faces and names, and they can remember the people they interact with and use gestures and vocalizations to communicate with them. Chimpanzees can also learn new gestures and vocalizations from humans and use them to communicate. Interestingly, chimpanzees can interact and communicate with humans in an effective way, and humans can interact with them and learn more about their mental abilities. These studies are used to understand the capabilities of chimpanzees and to improve their care and protection.